Welcome back. So you made the mistake of continuing to hear me read the next chapter in this fanfiction. Really? All right. Let's start. For viewers who did not watch the last and first video on this stupid little channel, this is a read of Transport, a Wings of Fire story. It's a fanfiction. This video will go over the first chapter, Part 1, Arrival. And so the game begins. Chapter 1. The journey begins. The attic library was an eerie and dusty place. Piles upon piles of books were stacked on top of each other. Some were quite new, with smooth plastic paperback covers, with exciting adventure and fantasy stories hidden within their pages, while others were ancient, with thin paper covers and even thinner pages that told the story of an old-time philosophy and history. All these books surrounded a single orange beanbag, which stood in the middle of a small, dimly lit room, as if it was a makeshift castle defending its precious treasure at twilight. A small circular window sat next to the beanbag, peering out at the small village outside. A gentle falling snow could be seen through the window, miming the view in a 1990s Christmas film. Inside the makeshift book castle sat 13-year-old Daniel Lawrence, who was just finishing up the 15th book of the Wings of Fire. 15th book of Wings of Fire, which was officially released a few months ago. As he finished up the final sentence of the book, he let out a long sigh. That's it, I guess. That's the final story of Wings of Fire. An amazing book, an even more amazing series, but its conclusion was a bit disappointing. He spoke out loud, thinking no one would hear him, until his older sister yelled at him to be quiet. Hey, the creaky floorboards from you walking around are just enough noise as it is, so shut it! Jeez, all right, he thought to himself. His sister, Charlotte, was taking care of him while their parents were both out on a business trip. Supposedly, they would be back in a week, so until then, his sister would be caring for him. Although by caring, it just meant buying him food and being antisocial in her room every day. His mind quickly returned to the book. So many things could have been changed and would have made this conclusion so much better. If only I was able to change it myself. With that thought in mind, he took a quick bite of his PB&J sandwich. Every Giga Chad needs it. Before he neatly slid the book back into place on the shelf along with the rest of his Wings of Fire collection. He had been a fan of the series for a few years now, and he had collected and read almost all available books so far, except Dragon Slayer, as he never found the appeal to read it. However, when he slid that last book in, he felt as if it wasn't over. Not just yet. Like there was still more to the Wings of Fire story, despite it being officially over for the moment of the 15th book. Sometimes foreshadowing can be relatively fucking obvious. He didn't know why he felt that way. There was just a feeling in his gut that told him it wasn't over. He peered out the window, taking a good look at the falling snow and the dark town before him, hoping it would make him forget the growing feeling. It didn't work. He tried eating, bathing, and playing video games, but even after all that, he couldn't shake the feeling. He checked the time as he lay in bed. It's almost 4 a.m, he thought. I'm going to check on the book again. Slowly but surely, he left his bed and quietly made his way up the attic steps, skipping the 5th one, as it was the one that creaked loudly. He needed to make sure to make as minimal amount of noise as possible. Do not wake his sister, or he would never hear the end of it. The floor creaked now and then, but as long as he took his time, he should be fine. Eventually, he reached the bookshelf and pulled out the book. It was the same book as before. Nothing changed. Flipping through the pages, he started to realize how dumb of an idea this was, and how it was just a massive waste of time. It was probably just my dumb mind being upset about the series ending, as there's nothing here to see. Nothing to see here, he thought grumpily. Whatever. Let's just go back to bed. Wait, can't forget to mark the date on the calendar. Daniel walked quietly towards the white calendar. Using a red pen that he kept near, he marked off the date, December 17th. Afterwards, he followed the same way he came up the stairs. However, he miscalculated and stepped on the 5th step. Creak! The step croaked. Shoot! Daniel thought, as a light down the corridor turned on, and out came a shadowy figure that Daniel immediately identified as his sister. Daniel bolted as quickly and as quietly as he could to his room and locked the door behind him. He let out a long sigh of relief. When he looked down, he saw he was clutching the book in his right hand before realizing he grabbed the wrong book. So he rushed to the attic and nearly escaping his sister was for nothing. Damn it! Dumb piece of crap! He whispered as he threw the book to the wall. Out of anger, however, he immediately regretted it, as there was a nail. He immediately regretted it, as that's where a nail was sticking out of the wall from construction renovations yesterday afternoon. The book's pages hit the nail and pierced the front before it ripped in two. Daniel looked at the ripped pages of the book. No, what have I done? He whispered. He walked towards the book before he was shot back towards the wall by a strong force. He looked up to see the ripped pages of the book glow. What was all he was able to get out before he shot towards the book at alarming speed? He began to faint, and the last thing he saw was a warm, bright light before everything went dark. Ah! Daniel screamed as he startled at what just happened. An annoying headache had found himself a home inside his brain, but Daniel soon realized that it was the last of his problems. Looking at his surroundings, all he saw were miles upon miles of desert dunes in all directions. No sign of light. No sign of, well, anything for that matter. There was nothing. Where am I? He began to stand up, but he quickly lost his balance on his two legs. What the? Why can't I stand up? His question was soon answered when he looked down. His heart skipped a beat. Where you would expect to see feet and toes, he saw red talons and claws. Where there was supposed to be smooth skin, there were rough scales and large wings. What am I? He screamed, trying to run. He fell again. His heart was pounding out of his chest, and he didn't know what to do. In his peripheral vision, he spotted a tiny puddle in a nearby hole. The water was undrinkable, but you could see your reflection relatively well. He crawled over to it and took a look at himself. That's not possible. He saw his facial features, horns, a long snout, with smoke coming out of his nostrils. I'm a dragon? And that's the end of that chapter. The author's note down below says, "Hello, people. If you are reading this monstrosity of a story, then thank you for putting up with my terrible writing skills. I hope you enjoyed this somewhat of an introduction to my book. Feel free to leave a comment if you wish to give me some constructive criticism on how I should change up my writing to make it clearer. But apart from that, I'll try to get a chapter out every few days. I hope you have a good day." And that's it. So, first chapter. Daniel gets transformed into a Durg. Yeah. Well, that's it. See you next time.